importance of Black women in power as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris make history as the new president and vice president-elect.
The story of a real-life superhero of the COVID era.
Not your typical day at school. Welcome to the virtual classroom.
And HBCU students march for change.
From the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C., this is NewsVision, a newscast written, reported, and produced by Capstone journalists in the Department of Media, Journalism, and Film.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Chandler Carter.
And I'm Julia Wang.
And welcome to the Fall 2020 NewsVision Newscast. NewsVision is the capstone class for broadcast journalism students at Howard University, the mecca of Black higher education and culture.
In this broadcast, we will discuss issues that impact your local communities, to pressing politics on the national forefront and need-to-know news at Howard University. This has been a historic year. We are now weeks away from inauguration. Former Vice President Joe Biden and U.S. Senator Kamala Harris made history after winning the White House after a contentious election season. NewsVision reporter Samantha Cheney has the story.
America has announced a new president-elect, Democrat Joe Biden. After 3 days, an election day that turned into an election week and an unprecedented election season has finally come to an end.
We're proving again what we've proved for 244 years in this country. Democracy works.
While President Trump was able to successfully defend traditionally Republican battleground states like Florida, Texas, and Ohio, those were simply not enough to get him to 270. Defiant and disputing the results, he took to Twitter to make baseless accusations that the election was being stolen from him. Due to concerns regarding COVID-19, 100 million Americans took part in early voting. While leading in most swing states, after claiming Pennsylvania, Biden had won the race. He was also victorious in states that President Trump won in 2016, like Michigan and Wisconsin.
Joe Biden has broken the record for the most number of votes cast for any presidential candidate, surpassing 70 million votes and shattering the record set by Barack Obama in 2008. He is making history as the oldest candidate elected as president. His running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is making history as the first woman, African American, and South Asian vice president.
We did it, Joe.
Democrats remain in the majority in the House, while control in the Senate hangs in the balance, with an eye on a few races. Despite a more polarized Congress, President-elect Joe Biden aims to unify America as a nation. For NewsVision, I'm Samantha Cheney.
After several weeks of refusing to concede, President Trump has officially admitted his defeat, and his administration has approved the start of the formal transition of power to President-elect Joe Biden.
Voter suppression has been one of the leading concerns in this election cycle. There have been concerns from both parties, and with Joe Biden the projected winner, the Trump campaign is taking voter suppression concerns very heavily. With the short amount of time left for the upcoming presidential election, Black voters are now facing numerous orchestrated efforts to discourage voting. In the past month, Twitter has banned over 20 accounts pretending to be Black Trump supporters. According to NBC News, those accounts are a device of voter depression and suppression tactics which contribute to voter disinformation. The goal? To get the audience to pose questions about the value of voting.
Why are these powerful people trying to suggest we can't trust the system, putting in place laws that are designed to suppress the vote?
But more than social media tactics are being used to discourage voters. The numerous steps to mail-in ballots, as well as absentee ballots simply not being sent out, are giving citizens one more reason to not go to the polls. There are several steps involved with mail-in voting, varying from state to state. These steps have not only caused mail-in ballots to be rejected, but have discouraged young and first-time voters. 2 studies done in the 2018 midterm election showed that minority voters were more likely to have their ballots rejected. In the 2016 election, there were 231 million eligible voters. Over 49% of voters did not turn out to the polls. It was the worst presidential election voter turnout since President Bill Clinton in 1996. According to a study done by The Atlantic, it is estimated that 60 to 70% of the vote will be casted by mail this year. Also, no major coronavirus outbreaks have been linked or traced to in-person voting. Voter suppression ranges from strict voter ID laws to social media tactics. For more information, please visit the Brennan Center for Justice or brennancenter.org.
Though Biden has clinched the presidency, many of his supporters say the work doesn't end there. Voters are now discussing what holding the president-elect accountable looks like after Inauguration Day. Joining me today is Dr. Nyambi Carter, author and assistant professor of political science at Howard University. Hi, Dr. Carter. It's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
My first question is, many Black voters have said that President-elect Biden owes his win to them, and more specifically to the Black women. Do you think that Biden will keep his campaign promises to the Black voters that showed him so much support?
You know, that remains to be seen. I think there's a lot of things that can happen between now and his position. We have to remember he's going to have a divided Congress. So what he will be able to do in some ways will be constrained. Now, that also means that President Biden will have to get more comfortable with ruling by executive order, which requires him to take a much more forceful approach than I think he has been willing, to exercise in the past. And even in his conversation, he seems a little unwilling to sort of play that kind of hardball with Congress. So I think we have to take a sort of wait and see approach. But I think this is the moment also where voters have to make sure they're continuing to apply that pressure to this administration and others. It has to be a multiplicative approach. So it can't be one thing. So I think protests are really important. I think protests are a way for people to register their displeasure in a way that is not going to be mediated by institutions, right? So that you get to hear unvarnished from people what they want. So I would say pay attention, be alert, make sure that Joe Biden is at least trying, right? And where you see obstruction in Congress, if that happens, then you go to your congressman. Make sure you vote in your state. Those are going to be very important places to sort of help and to check this administration. Joe Biden has said throughout that he wants to be the president of all people. And I think that's something that's really important, because when we think about the office of the presidency, it's the only office that does not have a constituency. Right? The constituency is the entire country, not just people in your district, not just people in your state. So I think to the extent that he is actually putting out programs and policies that actually make other people's lives better, not just the people that voted for him, is one way that we'll see that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carter, for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Great interview, Julia, and another special thank you to Dr. Carter. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because coming up next, we'll take a closer look at essential workers on the front lines of COVID.
A day in the life of a teacher and working parents in the era of virtual schooling.
And how local Black businesses are surviving despite coronavirus challenges.
We'll be right back.
From sunup to sundown, NewsVision has you covered. NewsVision is the capstone course for broadcast journalism at Howard University. From election coverage to campus updates and local government affairs, we will battle anything to get the story to you accurately and proficiently in a timely manner. No matter the danger or the difficulty, we continue to report to uphold democracy. So check out NewsVision for the latest stories.
It can't be much worse than rock bottom.
Remember that our vision is your vision.
We are now entering the 9th month into the coronavirus pandemic. There are over 12 million cases in the United States alone, and with over 250,000 deaths. The situation has been so extreme, European countries have barred American travelers. The national daily case count in the past 2 weeks has surged more than 80%. As the holidays approach, some governors have halted the reopening of businesses and called others to close. Also, the CDC is now telling college students to either not go home for the holiday season or go through a round of testing to be sure. College students in the past have been described as super spreaders, with the majority being asymptomatic.
COVID-19 hospitalizations are breaking numbers in the U.S., surpassing over 12 million total cases and more than 255,000 deaths since its start.
Essential healthcare workers are trying to protect their patients as well as themselves on the front lines as they battle COVID-19 head-on. NewsVision reporter Kyra Grant has a story of one courageous healthcare hero.
COVID-19 hospitalizations have reached record highs across the country. As Americans are dealing with the surges of the novel coronavirus, so are frontline healthcare workers like nursing assistant Miranda Johnson.
COVID is very scary. You're not knowing, whether you're going to be infected.
Miranda's patients are on lockdown at a psychiatric hospital. As COVID-19 cases are soaring across New Jersey and other states, confined to curb the pandemic, traveling healthcare workers on the other hand, are exposed to greater risk as well.
Definitely dangerous for us and for them too. So I worry about, them getting sick more than what they are, and also well as myself getting sick and bringing it home to my family.
Even through it all, she stays so positive.
I get up in the morning, I pray. I pray that on my way to work that I'm going to have a great day, and well, for myself and for my patients. And the joy of me just spending time with them and being in there, it keeps me sane.
As the latest coronavirus surge results in over 142,000 new cases, healthcare workers are on the front lines, putting their lives at risk for the well-being of sick Americans. Healthcare workers and essential workers are hoping that the FDA will approve a new vaccine before the end of 2020. The work of N.A. Miranda has not gone unnoticed. A young child sent her a note and wants to help people just like her someday. Miranda says it's one small thing that keeps both her and her patients positive throughout tough times: her colorful uniforms.
Sometimes my patients, they know, and they even know, like, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm having a good day, and they also love that my uniforms, how I'm always colorful, how I'm always matching, and it makes their day.
For NewsVision, I'm Kyra Nicole Grant.
Since schools began closing in March due to COVID-19 restrictions, more than 56 million students in grades K through 12 have been impacted. Teachers have become responsible for keeping students engaged through virtual learning. NewsVision reporter Samantha Cheney joins me now with the story. Hi, Samantha.
Hi, Julia. Thank you. Many first-year teachers have begun their careers in a place that may be the future of classroom learning, their bedrooms. Both students and staff have been tasked with learning from a new, yet familiar environment.
All right, friends, let's get started.
Rosalind Wingate's bedroom, turned into a makeshift classroom, is a long way from the courtroom, where she dreamed of one day beginning her career.
I wanted to be a lawyer. I had got my bachelor's in philosophy, right, and was going to go to law school. And then I realized by the time I reach somebody in a courtroom, they've already lost half of their battle. I would rather reach the person when I feel like they can have the most change.
For Wingate, that meant teaching kindergarten in Southeast Washington, D.C. She says it's a passion that's become more important now due to COVID-19.
Good morning, everybody! Thank you, Nevaeh. Good morning.
Teaching virtually is a far cry from what this first-year teacher expected or trained for.
Of course, kids are going to lose out. At the end of the day, the pandemic is a loss. No one is able to get what they would have gotten had they been in person, but safety over everything.
Here, in a classroom that would usually be filled with children, laughter, and learning, the seats of Moton Elementary School are now empty, as the school has been closed down due to the restrictions of COVID-19.
Great job, Jamez. I see you working.
Instead, the smiling faces Wingate cares so much about, she's only ever seen through a computer screen, like 5-year-old Jamez Lee.
Do you like being at school on the computer? Do you like doing that?
Absolutely not.
Little Jamez is among the 56 million school children in the U.S. affected by the coronavirus.
I want him to be able to go back because that's what he wants and that's how he seems to learn best. But my better judgment is telling me that it's not safe for him.
But for this teacher, whether in the traditional classroom or in her makeshift virtual one thing will never change: her passion.
I don't want nothing easy. If you're doing something easy, you're not doing something fulfilling.
Because she knows that she is an important part of preparing kids like Jamez to walk into the future. For NewsVision, I'm Samantha Cheney.
As of November 23rd, the District of Columbia is in full closure effect. And with the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, there seems to be no clear answer as to when students will get back into the classroom.
Back to school this fall was anything but routine. What we thought was going to be a short-term problem could drag well into 2021, with students and parents hanging on by a thread. NewsVision's Corinne Jones has the story.
Thanks, Chandler. Here at Thomas Stone Elementary School, it's empty, just like thousands of schools across the U.S. Being a working parent was already a task, so working parents everywhere are trying to figure out just how to balance work and their kiddos. I've talked to a few working parents to see just how they have been balancing it all.
I don't know. Online school is difficult.
Online learning has been kind of
It's fine. I prefer normal school.
The Brooks have been attending Hillsborough Virtual School. Therese Brooks, mother of 3, has postponed going back to work due to having to help teach her children.
There are times where I become overwhelmed because I'm trying to take on a role that I just haven't been trained to do.
And Ms. Brooks is not alone. According to the Parent in Context Research Lab, 50% of parents have felt overwhelmed with remote learning.
Father of 2, Courtney Kittrell, is also working from home. He says the hardest part about remote learning is keeping his kids focused.
Making sure that Taylor stays on task. She has an act for while session is going on, she'll walk out and just come to us.
According to Catalyst.org, mothers are more likely to have a sense of guilt when not attending to their children. When asked about feeling guilty, 3 out of the 4 moms I spoke to confirmed.
Every day. So I've tried to find ways to supplement that.
Although many parents are ready for in-person classes to resume, there are parents who have seemingly adapted to this new normal.
I like it kind of now. If anything, I'm really thinking about homeschooling.
Despite challenges COVID may bring for the future of education, parents will do anything to help their kids succeed.
Who's the best at helping with homework?
For NewsVision, I'm Corinne Jones.
Oh my goodness, those kids were so cute. I mean, you just got to give it up for the parents that are literally trying to do it all.
So cute and so heartfelt. And we have to give a thank you to the parents for, again, helping us do it all. But 2020 has been a trying time for people across the nation.
Due to COVID-19, basic aspects of life have been forced to change and adapt, one of the largest being the economy.
NewsVision reporter Jaquetta Williams spoke to a Black-owned business in Georgia about the way they have remained successful in such troubling times. Hi, Jaquetta.
I covered the story about Lindbergh Transportation, which is a family-owned trucking company which has been able to thrive in the middle of the pandemic.
Lindbergh Transportation is a small, Black-owned family trucking business based in Social Circle, Georgia. The business was opened by Otis Gardner in 1998. Now, 22 years later, the everyday operations of the business is being run by his daughter and son-in-law. 1 in 3 of the more than 31 million small businesses in the U.S. have faced devastating effects due to the pandemic. But Lindbergh Transportation is the exception.
We are our own carrier, but we have clients, and FedEx and Amazon are one of our biggest clients, but we can pretty much work for anybody we choose to.
COVID-19 has led to the rise and fall of businesses across the country, but for this particular business in Social Circle, they have been able to thrive amidst the pandemic.
Our business has grown during the pandemic. We are absolutely blessed that we are not one of those people who have had to shut down their small business during this time. It's nothing but the favor of the Lord that we are still up and running, thriving, still seeking drivers.
It's about more than money for this family. Their business represents a multi-generational legacy that will be carried on for years to come.
Never told me 10 years ago that I would be living in Georgia, working in trucking, and helping my family work towards something that's theirs.
This family and its business have withstood the trials of the past, the crisis of COVID, and say their future is in good hands.
To show my kids that this is for you, so that we can continue to work and then they can take over. And like, my parents are on vacation right now, but I'm at work. So one day, I'll be on vacation and they'll be at work.
For NewsVision, I'm Jaquetta Williams.
The Gardner and Morton family have definitely used the power of family and love as their strength to get through COVID-19 as both a business and a unit. And stay tuned, because coming up next on NewsVision,
I feel that Senator Harris is an example, hopefully, not just to young women of color, but to young women in general.
We'll take a look at how Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's historical win has inspired women of color across the nation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, girl.
Hey, Kyra, what's up?
Girl, I am so bored. I feel like I've literally binge watched every show, and I just want to watch something that's new and informative.
Oh my gosh, girl, have you heard of NewsVision?
NewsVision? No, what's that?
NewsVision is this great channel where student journalists at Howard University write, report, and produce news stories on everything going on campus and in the nation's capital. You can watch all their content on YouTube at HU News Service.
Wait, girl, that sounds so cool. Hold on, let me check them out right now.
As you can see behind me, thousands upon thousands of the district's residents.
2016 election, there were 231 million eligible voters.
She has done is good for not just Howard.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. If you want to know more about journalism, you should go to communications.howard.edu to get to know the Department of Media, Journalism, and Film. You never know, one day you may just end up on NewsVision yourself.
On Election Day, Howard University recognized and celebrated Kamala Harris's historic accomplishment of being the first Black and Asian American woman on a major party ticket. The now Vice President-elect claims this feat and so many other firsts in this country. I traveled to Howard University to see how the Bison congratulated one of their own.
On the morning of 2020's historic Election Day, Howard University's administration came together for the Changemaker celebration. The event was meant to celebrate and recognize the achievements of notable alumni who have used their schooling from the historically Black university to make a difference in the world. Speakers, including Howard University President Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, reflected on alumna and U.S. Senator Kamala Harris's historic achievement of becoming the first Black and Asian woman to serve as the vice presidential candidate on a major party ticket.
What she has done is good for not just Howard, but for the Black community. She has shown that Howard graduates are a force to be reckoned with. And she has demonstrated that those who make their way through the Mecca, those who successfully traverse the hilltop, can make it anywhere in the world.
Senator Harris has the possibility of achieving many firsts today. The first Black and Asian American vice president, the first Indian American of any gender and graduate of historically Black university on a major party ticket, and arguably the most important landmark of all, the first woman in 244 years to rise to the second highest office in the United States of America.
Harris's classmate and sorority sister spoke to what it would mean for young girls if Harris is elected.
Senator Harris is an example, hopefully, not just to young women of color, but to young women in general.
After Kamala Harris's win, Howard University received a $1 million donation to open a gender-based research center to further promote and amplify the voices of Black female leaders. Many students dubbed the donation as the first result of the Kamala effect. Now, Chan, I don't know about you, but I have seen the Kamala effect ripple across the university and its students.
Julia, the Kamala effect is everywhere, and it's more than on campuses and airports, in the stores, and best believe I have my Howard sweatshirt everywhere I go. But here at Howard and in the US, many have paved the way for Kamala Harris, and now with her sitting in the second highest office in the land, Black women strive to become something that they can now see. Here is Harris as she made it all the way from the Mecca to the White House, and how she is encouraging other women to do the same.
I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, Black women.
Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is not only the first woman to win the second highest office in the land, but the first Black woman. Third-year Columbia Law student Kristen Dupard, a Mississippi native, knows the importance of firsts and what it means to have representation in the highest regard. Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, Maxine Waters, and U.S. Senator Carol Moseley Braun paved the way for U.S. Senator Harris. And now the VP-elect is paving the way for Dupard, who also hopes to walk the halls of Congress.
To look at her and just kind of watch her in the Senate Judiciary Committee and just be so excited just to hang on to every word that she said. And I'm a firm believer that it's very difficult to become what you can't see. And being able to see her in that role has inspired me to want to be in that role.
The historic 2020 election has been described as not only a win for all women, but a win for Black women in particular. 91% of Black women voted for the Biden-Harris ticket, and this victory shows a promising vision of representation of Capitol Hill, according to Business Insider.
I think it's symbolic in the fact that not only was Joe Biden on the ticket for the first Black president, he was also in the ticket for the first Black vice president.
In 2019, 69% of all public offices were held by men and 88% were white Americans. Harris first got her start at the Howard University College of Arts and Sciences as president. Who knew she would make it all the way from the Mecca to the White House? Jobina Fortson, a Howard University graduate, sees Kamala Harris as groundbreaking, and as a news anchor in San Francisco, there is even more of an impact.
What's new is that we're getting attention from people that we haven't before. And what I hope is that it will encourage other students to look at HBCUs.
Black or white, women all across the country have been celebrating this victory. While Harris's history-making win marks a huge milestone, there is still a long way to go. In a Twitter post, Harris stated, "This election is about so much more than Joe Biden or me. It's about the soul of Americans and the willingness to fight for it."
To me, it's less about what she is or is not in support of and more of that this has been achieved. We saw, even on the other side of the aisle, Sarah Palin tried to make it happen and didn't. So it's happened. We're here, it's exciting, and I hope it really is encouraging to women all over the world.
Even though Harris is the first, she hopes to not be the last. She is setting the groundwork and the foundation for Black women to continue to walk the same halls as she did. And stick around and don't go away. There's still more ahead than coming up next on NewsVision.
We'll take a look at how Howard University took a role in fighting voter suppression in this year's election.
The six give their official sign out.
Plus, Howard students received a gift from one of the world's favorite celebrities. Stay tuned to find out who. We'll be right back.
Once I stepped on campus, I just felt like I belonged there. Howard is definitely like a place where I've learned to become myself and like fully just like break out of my shell in a sense and like figure out who I am and who I want to be and where I want to be. And that's just like from like, just being indulged in the culture of Howard and being surrounded by like, Black students that are being successful and Black creatives. I'll hold on to the memories forever, and that whatever I did learn at Howard or whatever I can take away from Howard will follow me throughout the rest of my careers.
This year's close presidential race posed concerns for Black voters across the nation amid reports of voter suppression and intimidation. Here at Howard University, the Ronald Walters Election Command Center took charge of this issue to ensure the integrity of the Black vote. NewsVision reporter Kyra Grant is here with me now.
Hello, Julia. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to cover the Ronald Walters Center on Election Day as they monitored Black voter turnout in key battleground states virtually from home. The Election Day Command Center provided real-time updates to combat suppression and disinformation amongst voters. And whether it was a new voter or a longtime voter, all participating organizations ensured Americans that they could exercise their constitutional rights and make their voices heard without compromise.
On a historic National Election Day, the Ronald Walters Election Day Command Center at Howard University is monitoring the Black vote and ensuring fair practices on the ground from home. The Command Center has monitored the election since 2012, and although this year's Command Center is held virtually through Zoom, participating organizations like Black Youth Vote are making sure that voters can be heard from across the country.
Black Youth Vote, our goal is to make sure that we are reaching out to the hard-to-reach youth. We're making sure that we're even reaching the ones that are registered but just aren't voting.
The Command Center receives real-time information regarding voter turnout, issues at the polls, and Black voter intimidation in key battleground states.
We have had a lot of issues with poll pads. There was an update made to some of those poll pads, and it's created a problem so that it wouldn't issue a card for the voter to actually vote on the electronic, the ballot marking devices.
Howard University student Sydney Johnson is growing the presence of the Command Center for Black voters virtually through live tweeting and updates.
Right now, we're getting different reports from the different branches, and they're kind of telling us that, this polling location had to switch to paper ballots. This polling location has people standing outside kind of committing voter intimidation.
The Ronald Walters Election Day Command Center at Howard University has monitored Black voter participation for nearly 8 years. Although this command center is virtual this year, they are reporting real-time reports of voter suppression, voter intimidation, and other voting conditions in key battleground states across the country. For NewsVision, I'm Carter Colbert.
The Command Center brought in live updates from key battleground states such as Arizona, Florida, Georgia, and Pennsylvania as we all track the race to 270. Black voter turnout in these states was critical as Joe Biden and the Democrats flipped a longtime GOP staple and Pennsylvania blue to secure victory.
And 2020 has been a year of protests. Right here in the district, HBCU students gathered to speak out against the racial injustices affecting Black students the most. NewsVision reporter Jaquetta Williams was there for the march and put together a piece about protests, politics, and their intersectionality in 2020.
HBCUs have always been the first to serve and nurture Black talent within our local communities. And as much as we love to give, it's nice to receive recognition and be valued for our contributions. Grammy Award-winning artist Beyonce teamed up with the Peloton app, the world's leading interactive fitness platform, to gift 10 HBCUs a free 2-year membership to access a full library of fitness classes. Thanks, B. We will definitely we are definitely going to need this holiday season. Right, Chan?
Girl, I'm about to be in the gym, about to be with my Peloton digital membership. I just activated it, so thank you, Beyonce. And while it saddens us to leave, the fall 2020 News Visionaries, better known as the Six, have grown as students, professionals, and journalists this semester.
To wrap up our newscast, the Six have put together a special piece about what this year has meant to us. This semester, the Six have worked hard to bring you the stories that you care about most.
From election topics
to the essential workers fighting on the front lines of COVID-19.
To the loss of political icons.
NewsVision has been there for you through such an extraordinary year.
And we hope you have enjoyed our fall 2020 coverage.
And continue to watch as future news visionaries break news for semesters to come.
But no matter which students are bringing you the news, remember,
our vision is your vision.
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 Is your vision. And this is the Six signing out. Thank you for spending a semester here with us at NewsVision. It has been an honor to bring the latest news from Howard University's campus and across the United States to you. And remember, your vision will always be our vision. And NewsVision wants to give a very special thank you to all of you at home for tuning into our final newscast. Thank you for watching our stories, and we hope we've inspired you to become a fair and balanced storytellers and help others share their stories too.
We would like to extend a special thank you to our professor, Jennifer Thomas, for leading us through this broadcast and giving us the confidence to succeed in this course and life after.
We'd also like to extend the greatest thank you to the Howard University Cathy Hughes School of Communications for instilling in us all of the necessary skills for moments like this one.
And lastly, we would like to thank our fall 2020 news visionaries, from anchors, reporters, producers, and editors who completed and prepared this newscast.
We did it, and we are one step closer to our last walk here at the Mecca. And another special thank you goes to my co-anchor, Julia, who was my freshman year roommate. Excellence without excuse. Have a great evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye. We did it, guys.
NewsVision, brought to you by Howard University School of Communications.